listening to the Gate to Wire podcast, presented by Pass the Wire, broadcasting around the world.
For the Gate to Wire win in the Florida Derby.
Featuring your hosts, the Pick Six King, Jonathan Stetton, and Michael Vale, bringing you the latest and greatest in horse racing news, guest interviews, handicapping, and more.
Here come the horses for today's race.
Welcome to Kingdom Nutrition Company. Experience the power of our products to enhance your horse's performance and take home the gold. Please visit us at www.kingdomnutritioncompany.com or call us at 866-865-4080 and turn the power on.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pass the Wire's podcast, Gate to Wire, brought to you by our friends at Spendthrift Farm, by our friends in the Kingdom Nutrition Company. I'm here with my partner in crime, Michael Vale.
How we doing, John?
We're doing good. We're going to look at the Saturday Stakes at Saratoga. What could be more interesting than that?
Nothing, man. It's a great card, and especially the later in the card, some of these graded stakes we got in decent field sizes too, not just on amount, but at least even the shorter ones have decent depth. So
you've got the grade one Alfred Vanderbilt at 6 furlongs. You've got some major Travers implications in the Jim Dandy, which is a grade 2, should probably be a grade 1, but it's the grade 2 Jim Dandy at a mile and an eighth with essential quality, the Belmont winner, 2-year-old champion. And then you've got the Bowling Green at a mile and 3/8 at grade 2 on the turf. I thought the Vanderbilt and Bowling Green both came up very tough and very competitive. A lot of people are gonna cast their anchor on essential quality. I'm not. We'll get to that in a minute.
Sure.
But I thought there was a little bit of opportunity here, believe it or not.
No, I completely agree with you, John, and especially if you're willing to take a stand against one of the big favorites in the first two stakes races, could pay really big. It just depends how gutsy you want to be.
I like to take shots. You know that. You know.
Oh yeah.
You know, horses will humble everybody. Okay, and I probably have opinions in the Jim Dandy that might after the races be very humbling for me, but that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm willing to bet my money on my opinions and take it from there. See how it shakes out. But the Vanderbilt at 3/4 of a mile, I thought was a very, very competitive race. I didn't particularly like Firenze Fire, who's going to take a lot of money, because I thought he ran his eyeballs out last time, and I'm not wild about taking horses off gut-wrenching efforts like his last race was.
And that was a hell of a race, by the way. That was awesome against Mind Control.
It was a great race, but he's run a couple of tough ones. You know, he's got those 2 wins before that. He's run some big races, and I'm of the opinion that he actually likes 7 better than 6, even though he's got a good record at 6. You know me, I always look for that little nick in the armor when they're on these rolls, you know, and look to bet against them, especially when they're going to take a lot of money. So I was going to take a shot against him, and I landed, believe it or not, I was torn between 2 horses, and it was Special Reserve where I landed 3 Technique.
Really? Yeah,
my top choice is Special Reserve.
See, I think I'm going to single in this race, but I'm not going to use either of those, so I'm interested to see what.
That's all right. You know, Special Reserve is just coming in super confident. Okay, he's off those 2 wins. The race at Prairie Meadows was a fast race. The 3rd finisher came out to win. The 4th place finisher was that Empire. I forget the horse's name, but he set the pace in the Breeders' Cup last year. Empire of Gold, something like that. Super fast horse. And Maker, when he gets these horses good, they stay good and they keep going. And this horse, his last 2 races were outstanding. He's drawn outside with Joel Rosario, so he could sit the exact kind of trip that I think is going to win this race, and I land there.
Yeah, I guess my question is, do you think Firenze Fire goes with him or Strike Power? Because that was my worry. I think there's a decent amount of speed on the race.
I don't think he has to go. I think he's going to sit the trip on the outside. I don't.
See, I thought. See, I'm and with Rosario on, I tend to agree with you that he's going to try to drop back. But man, in the 9-hole with a speed horse, you'd think you'd want to just try to clear the field and get to the front. I think that's his best chance to try to steal the race. But to your point,
I'm fine if he does that. I think Joel can do whatever he wants with him. I'm fine if he does that. I'm fine if he clears off. I'll be okay with that. I'll be comfortable.
Well, and I don't think this horse is going to take any money because I think people are just going to look at that Iowa Sprint and go, "I want no part of you." You know, I got all these big names in this race, and
I hope so. I really hope so because I think he's going to really, really run a big race. And the Prairie Meadows race, I think is better than people realize. I think that was a really fast race, and I think this is a really fast horse who's coming in on top of his game, feeling really good. And Maker turns these claims into stakes horses and grade 1 type horses. I can't even tell you how many times he's beat me with horses like this. So
this is a very, very Mike Maker type of horse, getting him out of an optional 40 claimer and then trying to take him all the way to a grade 1. I mean, it's rare to see, but unfortunately, fortunately, Mike Maker does it quite a bit.
Yeah, and 3 Technique looks like a disappointment. Looks like he's maybe in some deep waters, but he's putting blinkers on. He was always a highly regarded horse. I think the blinkers may help him a lot. I think he's got those 3 races to build on. He's going to have some pace to run into. He's won at Saratoga before, and I think he's got a puncher's chance at a big price in here. So I respect him. I respect Whitmore. He's a bull. You know what I mean? He can throw a big one down anytime. And when he throws his big ones down, he's tough. He's tough to hold off, but he's getting a little bit long in the tooth too. And Mischievous Alex, I think, is intriguing on the cutback. I mean, he might be the horse to beat. I'm not sure. But I think Special Reserve is going to give them all as much as they can handle and be in this fight for a long time on Saturday.
No, I wouldn't surprise. 3 Technique would surprise me a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. Special Reserve would not. I mean, look, I've seen Mike Baker do this with plenty of types of horses. The only exception, though, is I like to take low, when Mike bumps up low claimers to the big stakes. I prefer when he's doing it with the long turf runners that he has.
Right.
I just don't see him do it quite as often with sprinters. So it's the only reason I probably wouldn't land on him. And there's a lot of speed in the race, and I could see a couple other horses trying to go with him. I do think he's the best of the speed. So if you're going to go multiple horses in this race, I would use Special Reserve. I went back and forth on singling 2 different horses, and I ended up on Whitmore. Actually, I'm going to single him. To your point, John, when he's at his best, he's awesome. And people always think of him as a Oaklawn horse, and fair enough. He does awesome at Oaklawn Park. But I would argue the 2 best races of his career might be at Saratoga. They really might be.
Listen, I was there one day when I just thought he bulled his way through the field and just said, "Get out of my way, here I come."
Dude, that 2018 Forgo where he absolutely crushes City of Light and Limousine and Liberal. Those were 2 awesome sprinters, man. And he just, you're right, he just pulled him down. It was a great race. People are going to look at last year's Vanderbilt, look, super sloppy track, or I apologize, last year's Forgo, super sloppy track, weird race. I'm going to throw that one out. But if you go to last year's Vanderbilt, he closes the distance on Volatile, and he only loses by length and a quarter. So one of the best sprinters I've ever seen, and it's too bad he had to retire.
He broke through the gate that day before the race.
And he broke through the gate that day and still was able to go.
That's like the kiss of death, you know what I mean? So, listen, I have got no knock on Whitmore whatsoever.
Exactly. And I think the pace is going to set up great for him. There's plenty to run at. And he's 4. This is the 4th race in his cycle. And it's done well for him in the past. The Breeder Cup sprint he ran was 4th off the short layoff he had in the early summer of that year. And he's done it multiple times where that 3rd or 4th race off a layoff is his best race. So think Marquette's got this. I think Whitmore's got one more special race in him, and I think it's going to be today on Saturday. So he'll be my single. I thought about singling Mischievous Alex just because he might be the most talented horse in the race at 6 furlongs. It's hard to know coming off that Met Mile, which he did great in that Met Mile. There was nothing wrong with that. That was just a really tough race.
I think the mile's probably a little further than he wants to go as well.
Exactly. So I think the cutback can do nothing but good for Mischievous Alex. So I was either going to single him or single Whitmore. I just landed on Whitmore, partly because I love Whitmore. I mean, it's hard not to love Whitmore. But I just think the pace sets up so good for him. And I got a feeling that Saratoga's his favorite track and that he's got a big one lined up. And we're going to talk about the next race. I'm not so keen to go against Essential Quality in the next race. So I gotta single or be aggressive in this first race and try to go against the favorites. So Whitmore's my pick for the Vanderbilt.
Okay. And I guess Essential Quality in the Jim Dandy for you, huh?
Yeah, and man, I took a close look at all the horses. And to be honest with you, John, I think you're going to make some good points coming up because I'm looking for a spot to beat Essential Quality in. I don't think he's heads and tails the best in the crop. We don't know it yet. He is currently, but I think he's vulnerable. But I just couldn't find a horse to beat him. I
understand, and I see exactly what you're saying because I looked at it, and you're a sports guy. Okay, your other podcast is Chicago Plus the Points. Okay, you follow. In football, you have what they call a trap game, right?
Yeah.
You got a bigger opponent coming in, the Travers. You think you got everybody over a barrel. You're not thinking you need your A game to win. You know what I mean? You want to build off it, keep everybody healthy, keep everything that. Yeah. To me, this is like almost a trap race for him.
You're gonna have to trademark that. I'm not sure I've heard that comparison before, but I like it.
He's thinking about the Travers. You don't want to get burned out winning the Jim Dandy. You know what I mean? Let's not get him hurt. Save some gas in the tank if somebody jumps up and stings you. And I could just see that happening, and that's so Saratoga. They don't call it the graveyard of favorites for nothing.
No. And to be honest, John, I think my price will be helped because of Malathat's defeat last week. I really do. I think Essential Quality will clearly be an odds-on favorite, but I don't think he'll be. I think he'll be around 4 to 5. I honestly think he might bump up a little bit.
Wow, I think 3 to 5, 1 to 2, but we'll see. Because it's just not a lot in here, which makes trying to beat him challenging. So.
And that was my problem. It's you basically got this whole field out of the Ohio Derby, and I didn't like that race at all.
I got 2 angles. Okay. And like I said, I'm not afraid to be humbled by horses. And I could very easily Saturday night be completely humbled with these 2 angles because I'm trying to read the tea leaves and come up with something. So me long enough now in the handicap. I look at what somebody might do as opposed to what they've done. Okay. And based on everything these horses have done, none of them are going to be Essential Quality. Okay, so who could jump up? And I look at a horse like the horse on the rail, Todd Fletcher's horse, Dr. Jack. Okay, and he looks clearly a cut below. But I say, okay, he wins at Gulfstream when Todd already left with the good horses for Keeneland. Okay, leaves this one behind. Couldn't have been high on the radar, but he wins. Okay, he comes back on a mile on the 16th at Pimlico on Creek this weekend. Boom, he wins, looking good. Okay. Yep. Sends him to the other Pegasus race, the one at Monmouth, with no whip to face Mandaloon, who's a much more seasoned horse, Wyburn, who's a much more seasoned horse, and he kind of runs okay on a day that Monmouth was playing a little bit heavy, a little bit tricky, and just ran okay. Okay, he comes back here, and I think he could be sitting on a big forward move. I think he's working well. He gets Jose Ortiz, his 4th rider in 4 starts, but Jose, may find a knack with this horse. Todd doesn't back off him, doesn't look for a softer spot. If you're running into Jim Dandy, you're obviously thinking you might run into Travers. So if Todd thinks this horse is good enough to possibly be in the Travers, I say he's sitting on a forward move. And how many times You see, how does Fletcher win with Jose Ortiz and pay 17-1? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is how.
And the distance might hit him right between the eyes. I mean, obviously, Essential Quality probably wants more distance than a mile and an eighth. And Dr. Jack's a bit of an unknown, and he keeps going up in distance. And a mile and an eighth, pioneer of the mile out of an AP Indy, that might hit him right between the eyes.
The other horse I look at, and again, not afraid to humble myself, is the horse on the bottom, the other long shot, Chad Brown's horse. That looks terrible. Okay, you look at this horse. He breaks his maiden when they stretch him out on the dirt and looks good. Okay, comes back, wins the Withers, looking good. Throws a complete dud in the Wood Memorial. All right. I had Chad Brown on the show on Past the Wire TV before the Preakness, and we talked a lot about this horse and all the reasons why he thought the horse could possibly turn it around. And they like this horse, okay? But he didn't turn it around in the Preakness. He runs up the track. I gotta assume there was a legitimate excuse. Now, fast forward to the end of July, okay? This is not a horse, okay, I'm running in the Jim Dandy because I couldn't find another spot for him. This is a horse I see Chad not backing off of, saying, you know what? I ran this horse in the Preakness because I thought he was going to run good, and I still think off of how many lengths did he get beat? By the length of the stretch, I still think I got a racehorse here. And he runs him in the Jim Dandy. And I respect Chad. I respect Fletcher. If they think that these two horses are good enough to possibly run in the Travers, and I think it's a track race possibly for Essential Quality for a number of reasons, not only because of the Travers being the goal, but because he's coming off the Belmont at a mile and a half, might not be as sharp as he was.
Yeah. He's coming off the best race of his life. I mean, to your point, I mean, do you think he's even a bounce candidate? My problem
I don't think so. I think he's had enough time, but you never know. But I think if he's going to get stung, okay, it's not going to be by Master Parade, Wyvern, or Keep Me in Mind. I don't think that those guys are going to sting him.
Yeah, so you're against the Ohio Derby horses too, then?
Yeah, I think if he's going to get stung, okay, and that's a big if. I get it, okay? But if he's going to get stung, it's going to be by one of these two jumping up and saying, how the heck did Chad Brown beat me at 15-1? Or how did Fletcher and Fletcher and Jose Ortiz at 18-1? What are we crazy? That's what I can see happening if he goes down.
So I'm with you on Dr. Jack. Like, if I get upset, I think he's probably the most likely upset. First of all, he's the unknown, right? He's only raced 3 times. He's had speed figure improvements each race. So projected improvement on that horse, easy to project improvement. I guess my biggest problem is Essential Quality. He has B races. We've seen him have like BB plus races. We've never seen him have a dud. And he would really have to regress. And with risk taking, does it concern you? I mean, both of the Ortiz brothers have ridden this horse and neither took this mount. Does that concern you at all? Because Manny's never ridden this horse.
No, Manny's been riding a little bit for Chad, and the horse is coming off a drubbing. And no, it doesn't. I mean, what concerns me is he just might not be as good as I think he can possibly be, or that Chad might think he is. He may never be on his best day able to beat a horse like Essential Quality if Essential Quality brings it. But in looking at it as, what might happen if Essential Quality, and I don't even know that they can beat his B race. They might not be able to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The B race might win. I get all of that. But they're going to be big prices. And if he's a little vulnerable and they jump up, 3-year-olds can make big forward moves. You just never know. And like I said, Chad's got a heck of a good opinion and doesn't run his horses in spots. He's not Chad Brown because he runs his horses in spots where he doesn't think they can win, I give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think this horse, runs a lot better than he did those last 2 races. Is that good enough to get him home? We'll find out Saturday afternoon. But
and like I said, I like the idea of going against Essential Quality. Assuming the Travers comes up the way we think it will, I'll definitely I definitely will be against Essential Quality then. I wanted to beat him in this race, man. just couldn't get myself to think he's going to run a C race, and even his C race might win this. So
I agree. I see all of that as well.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, okay? We talk a lot about ticket structure and smart betting as opposed to not so smart betting, okay? You're betting a pick 4 or a pick 5, and you see the race the way I see it, okay? And you've got some good opinions on good price horses in the other legs. This race, do I use, in your opinion, the 3 of them, the 1, 5, and 6, or do I take the standard approach that, hey, if I think the favorite's vulnerable, I'm not using it and just use the 1, 6 and let him beat me out of potentially a nice ticket? Because even with the favorite, some of the other price horses I like, it could be a nice pick 4 or 5. So what would be your opinion in that?
Yeah. So, and it's part of the reason I singled in the first race, right? If you told me in the race prior you liked Whitmore and you liked one of the other favorites, either Firenze Fire or Misty, right? So if you were using the favorites in that race, I would tell you absolutely cannot use essential quality in this race. You have to throw them out. But you didn't tell me that. You're actually using some decent long shots, and you're throwing out the rest of the fields in that race, correct?
Right.
Free technique and special reserve.
Correct.
So I think what I would do for you is on your go back ticket, throw out essential quality. But if you really think that essential quality C race can win, I don't think it's as bad including him with those 2 long shots that you like.
We're on the same page, and that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, normally if I'm going to bet against a horse that's going to be that short, I'm just going to bet against him. If he wins, but because of the way my ticket is and how narrow I am and the prices that I'm using, I'm like, you know what? I could use him and still come out okay with the other horses that I have and as narrow as I'm going to be. So that's kind of how I saw it. And I'm like, maybe a really hardcore ticket structure guy would say, no, that's in the long run a mistake. But I think I'm pretty high on the list of structuring tickets well.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. You want to create hurdles for yourself in pick 4 and pick 5 sequences. You've already created a hurdle for yourself in the first sequence. We'll find out what we do in the next race. But you and I have both created hurdles in the first race. They're just different. I'm singling the third choice in the race. You're going to be using 2 long shots and throwing out the rest of the field. So you can still have a profitable ticket even if essential quality comes in for you. So like you said, if you want to go on a go back ticket, you play it for $5 or $10 or 20, throw out essential quality because you're just covering yourself in case your first opinion is correct. Look, if special reserve comes in, you want to get paid. Not many people are going to have special reserve on their ticket.
Right. Exactly. You don't want to, and if free technique wins, I don't want to waste him.
Exactly. So I think you want to protect that equity a little bit. If your opinion is that essential quality's bad race could still win, which it seems like that is. No, I think that's really good points you brought up, John. You want to move on to the Bowling Green?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. So Bowling Green, a mile 3/8 on the inner turf. A lot of familiar names, a lot of war horses in this race. Who'd you have on top?
I don't want to say either's on top. I'm using 2 horses, and I don't lean to one over the other. I like them both. I'm using Cross Border and Moon Over Miami.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I think Cross Border last time got wired by that Mega City horse in a race where nobody went to the lead, finished really well. And if you look at something that jumps out to me, it's 6 for 5 over the Saratoga lawn with a second. Reminds me of that Voodoo Lily horse or whatever that horse is named that just win every time he run up at Saratoga. Beat horses at Saratoga. He couldn't beat at Belmont,
Yep.
This horse loves Saratoga. I think that at some point, and it's so frustrating, and I'm tired of saying it as everybody else is. Pace in these marathon turf races in New York. I mean, am I wrong in thinking that at some point Channel Cat and Channel Maker have to entertain each other a little bit? You know what I mean? Can one of them let the other one just walk around?
If they want to win, but again, Channel Cat, and Channel Maker are 2 of my favorite horses because they run in all these big races and they don't win a lot of them. So, and they always take money. So they're two of my favorite horses in racing for that reason.
Well, I think they got to entertain each other. So I think Cross Border over the track he loves is going to get some pace to close into. Luis Saez is as strong a finisher as you'll find. I'm not really sold on any of the other horses. And Moon Over Miami, I look at as a horse that's always had a lot of potential, always been a nice horse, but I think is gradually and slowly improving, is kind of still a newcomer to this group, a newcomer to the marathon distances. I think he's going to have some pace. I think Junior Alvarado is a strong finishing rider, and I think he's going to be coming. I mean, he's 4 years old, chasing all these older horses. You know, he's got some upside, whereas they really, we know what they are, and they're good. I'm not knocking him, but he's still got some upside.
No, and it's only his fourth race of the year too. He's been lightly raced this year compared to in the past. So no, I'm with you. I think, or I apologize, it's his fifth race. He did run in January. So no, it's not a bad pick at all, John.
I think he's dangerous. So I was just going to use those two.
And then what was your thought on Moon Over Miami?
That's what I was talking about, Moon Over Miami.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no,
right.
Sorry,
Moon
I thought you were still
Miami.
talking about.
No, Moon Over Miami is the second one. He's the one I thought was, new to this bunch and had some upside. And, Cross Border was my, quote, war horse that I thought, you had to use, especially over Saratoga.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on all of those. So I'm going to use 3 in this race since I was a little skinny earlier. I'm singling the first 2 legs. I like Cross Border for all the reasons you said. I think he could absolutely win this race. And then I'm going to use 2 Chad Browns. I really like Breakpoint at 10-1. Obviously, coming out of Chile, won all those races easily. It's hard to know how good those races are. He then comes to Belmont at 1 1/8 and a $100,000 claimer. He goes off as your favorite. Took a ton of money that day, and you know what? He didn't run horrible. He really slow start, came closing, only lost by 4 lengths. But it was his first race of the year. It's his first race in the U.S. And Chad Brown goes, no, he's ready for this race. I love the I love the workout pattern. Chad Castellano at 10-1, son of Constitution. I like this horse, man. I think he has a great chance to step up from that last race, especially if he gets a better break than he did.
And he will get overlooked. He'll be the longest Chad for sure. And he's the next one I would throw in, believe it or not. I'm going to use the 2 that I said, but he would have been the next one I threw in because of a lot of what you said and the fact that Chad brings him back here off a race that doesn't really jump out and say he could win here.
No, it's second out in the U.S. Second as a 4-year-old too, which that's one of my favorite angles. So it's a young horse improving. Man, it's just, and again, you got. I love that fast 5 furlong workout he had on July 17th. That's usually a sign from Chad that this one's ready to plow him down the lane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I see it, and like I said, there's a lot of other spots he probably could have run this horse and didn't. So respect for sure, respect.
Yep.
And like he would have been the next one I throw in. He is the next one that I throw in if I decide to add somebody.
No, fantastic. And then the other Chad I was going to use is Rock Emperor. Now, this horse, I've liked this horse for a long time, and man, he burned my money for a while. Going up against some of the horses in this race too, but he finally got a win last out. Looked great doing it. I wish Pratt was on him again, but no, not a jockey downgrade to Rosario by any means. The barns always felt highly out on this horse. I mean, literally, they keep throwing him in grade 1s, and I think he just needed a bit of a confidence booster race. Looks like he's coming into the race well. Again, Rosario coming on seems like a good fit after running with Pratt. So, and again, the other Chad Browns tend to do really well in these races. So I'm going to be using both of his horses here.
No argument. I thought Rock Emperor had to kind of, drop down to get a little confidence last time, and Pratt gave him a really good ride. But I think Yeah. I think these might be a little better than him, but
They might. And but man, it's just the favorites just don't scare me that much. Again, Channel Maker, a great horse, hard knocker, but he doesn't, for as many races as he's been in, he just doesn't win a ton of them. And we talked about Channel Cat, kind of the same deal. Although I love Jack Sisterson, I would be very happy for him if he won for Calumet Farm. But yeah, I'll be against those two. And like I said, I think if Chad doesn't win this, I really do think it's going to be cross border. So I think I'll be covered on those three.
sounds like a plan.
Any other races you're excited to see this weekend, John? Either at Del Mar or at Saratoga?
I'm excited to see First Captain in the Curling tomorrow at Saratoga. That's a race that could have Travers implications as well.
So what do you think? I mean, I know it's hard to tell. Do you think he's going to be the real deal, or is this going to be another hidden scroll?
I would lean more towards real deal than hidden scroll.
Yeah, and I kind of do too. I really do, and I don't really have a good reason why.
Yeah, I do think he's probably the real deal. Now, that doesn't mean that, I haven't handicapped the race tomorrow, so I don't know that he's going to win tomorrow. And I don't think that he has to win tomorrow to be the real deal because he's lightly raced. He's still learning, coming around.
And knowing you'll like him in the Travers more if he doesn't win.
Probably so. Probably so. Yeah, I think he's potentially a really, really nice horse.
No, I agree. It's always fun watching those super maiden wins come back and seeing what they can do, especially at a place like Saratoga, because that horse will be going off. I don't know what his odds will be, man, but it'll be, if you want to play a good superfecta and throw him out, that could pay pretty good.
Yeah. Well, this is a great time of year. Saratoga by day, Del Mar by night. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, it really doesn't.
Working hard with the Saratoga, Saratoga Today show. Got a little bit of seconditis lately, but the show's going well. A lot of fun.
Yeah. And the other thing before we leave is you got to talk to Carl Broberg. How'd that go?
That was a great conversation. It's up on the YouTube channel. I encourage people to listen to it. He's a really personable guy. He's very intelligent. We talked about everything in racing you could possibly imagine. And then some. And it was a great conversation. I enjoyed talking with him. I think he's got a good perspective, and I think it's a good way to get to know him a little bit because a lot of times your perception of people and what you think about people, and you never really saw them and heard them and spoke with them, can be a little bit off base. And he was definitely very different than I expected him to be. He's a very sharp bettor. He started as a bettor. We talked a lot about betting, about training, and he's got a lot of similar thoughts as me. You know that I think that stopping cheating starts with cameras in the barn, in the stalls, and a centralized pharmacy where every drug comes out of that pharmacy on the track. So I asked him, I said, Carl, I'm the commissioner of racing. And I call you up and say, Carl, you're a trainer. How do I get rid of the cheaters? He says, you know what I would do? I would put a camera in every stall and have everybody get their drugs from a centralized pharmacy. I said, oh, man, you're watching my video.
Stealing our material.
Yeah. So
no, but I think that's great because it comes with like police body cams is a similar issue, right? A lot of cops love those because for that exact reason, the guys that are clean and doing things right want it on video, want to show that they're doing it right. So yeah, it's good to hear that he had that perspective.
He did have that perspective, and
especially for a guy who gets accused a lot, like Carl does.
Accused a lot. We talked about that. We talked about how he responds to it, how he feels about it. We talked about his overages and therapeutic overages and the difference between therapeutic overages and, quote, juice cheating and stuff like that. He was a very straight shooting, transparent guy. I think people will like the interview. I enjoyed speaking with him. I would absolutely have him again. And he's got a horse running in the stake at Saratoga in a couple of weeks too. Well, he's heading up there. Or maybe this week. I forget when it is. But he's got horses all over the place, and he's trying to move to the next level. I mean, he's a big fish in a lot of small ponds, and he's trying to take it to the next level. Yeah,
because that's how I know him, right? Because he plays a lot at Sam Houston and some of these southern/western tracks, and you're right. I mean, he's a high percentage trainer at some of the smaller ponds, and I mean, a lot of people they kind of assume if you're that high percentage in a small pond that you must be cheating. So No, it's good to hear that he's talking about it.
About going, it's so bizarre, Michael, to me with the cheating, and we can close on this. Everybody accuses Orlando Noah, okay, and you look at him, and he's 17% in this category and 19% in that other category. He's not even high percentage. So I don't even know what it is that attracts people. I think if they make a splash or get on a hot streak, and you're not one of the Bill Motts or Shooting McGahees or one of those guys, people just automatically like to throw that cheating label on you.
No, and look, I'm as guilty as anybody for doing that, and it's tough. It's tough because racing's gone through, obviously, with all the trainers that have been caught over the last year. It's hard. It's hard to control yourself and try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt.
I don't proclaim to know who is or who is not cheating. I have my own suspicions the same way that you have yours. But what I will be confident in saying is that there are plenty of people out there that are labeled cheaters who are not cheating. And there's plenty of people out there that are cheating and under the radar, nobody knows it because they do it quietly, sneakily, make their money, cash their tickets, don't worry about the percentage, but make their 3 or 4 or 5 scores a year and nobody has a clue.
Right. No, I agree with you. It's
I think there are not guys out there like that. You know nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's funny because I'm a Purdue sports fan, and I always joke like it would not surprise me if like we had recruiting violations. We'll just never get caught because we're never going to be good enough at football again to ever warrant an investigation. So, yeah, it's one of those things. I agree with you. Some of the small time guys might be under the radar.
No doubt they're out there. No doubt.
Yeah. So, no, thank you, John, for coming on. Quick show today, but we want to get you guys our thoughts on the races so that you can get back to handicapping yourselves.
Yeah, thanks for getting together. Always great doing the shows with you, and always good catching up. And ciao for now.
Ciao for now.
Thanks for tuning in to GTW, presented by Pass the Wire. For horse racing news and more, visit PassTheWire.com. Check us out on Twitter at PassTheWire. See you next time.